The sound of glass shattering against the wall made Marcus freeze in the doorway. His boss, the infamous, ice-cold Victoria Chen, sat crumpled on the office floor, mascara streaking down her face, surrounded by the remains of what had once been an expensive crystal award. In that moment, everything he thought he knew about her collapsed. The woman who had made his life hell for 3 years, who seemed to take special pleasure in scheduling late meetings knowing he had to pick up his daughter, was breaking apart right before his eyes. What happened next would change both their lives forever. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional stories that reveal the humanity behind the people we think we know. Marcus Reynolds checked his watch for the 5th time in as many minutes. 7:42 p.m. He was supposed to pick up Emma from the after-school program by 8 o'clock, and Victoria Chen had just dumped another stack of reports on his desk. "I need these reviewed by morning," she said without looking up from her phone. "The Johnson account depends on it." Marcus swallowed hard. "Ms. Chen, I mentioned earlier that I have to pick up my daughter by 8. The center charges $1 per minute after closing, and honestly, I can't." "We all have responsibilities, Reynolds," Victoria cut him off, finally glancing up with those piercing eyes that had earned her the nickname Ice Queen throughout Pinnacle marketing. "Mine is making sure this company maintains its reputation for excellence. Yours is making sure these reports are flawless by 9 a.m. He wanted to argue, to explain that since Diane's death 2 years ago, he was all Emma had. That his 8-year-old daughter had already lost her mother, she shouldn't have to wonder if her father would show up. But Victoria had already turned away, her slender figure disappearing down the hallway toward her corner office. Marcus pulled out his phone to call Mrs. Patel, the kind elderly neighbor who sometimes watched Emma. His finger hovered over her contact when his desk phone rang. "Reynolds," he answered, trying to keep the frustration from his voice. "Marcus, it's Judy from HR. Listen, I know Victoria just gave you those Johnson files, but there's something you should know." Judy's voice dropped to a whisper. "Today's the anniversary of her brother's death. 5 years ago. Car accident. She never takes the day off, but she's always different. Just, maybe cut her some slack." The line went dead before Marcus could respond. He sat back in his chair, processing this new information. Victoria had a brother? Who died? The woman never mentioned family, never displayed photos, never spoke of a life outside Pinnacle's walls. He glanced at the stack of reports, then at his watch again. 7:50 p.m. With a sigh, he called Mrs. Patel, who thankfully agreed to pick up Emma. Then he texted his daughter, promising extra pancakes for breakfast to make up for another missed bedtime. 3 hours later, Marcus rubbed his burning eyes. The office had emptied completely, the cleaning crew had come and gone, and he was finally finishing the last report. As he gathered his things to leave, he noticed a light still on in Victoria's office at the end of the hall. He debated simply leaving. It was nearly 11 p.m., and he wanted nothing more than to go home. But something about what Judy had said nagged at him. With a reluctant sigh, he walked toward the light. That's when he heard it, a sound so unexpected it stopped him in his tracks. A sob. Then another. Followed by the distinct sound of glass shattering against a wall. Marcus hesitated at the partially open door, then gently pushed it wider. The sight before him was so incongruous with the Victoria Chen he knew that for a moment, he thought he'd entered the wrong office. Victoria sat on the floor, her back against her desk, knees pulled to her chest. Her normally immaculate hair had fallen from its tight bun, and her makeup was streaked down her face. Beside her was an open bottle of whiskey, and across the room lay the shattered remains of what appeared to be a crystal award. She looked up, registering his presence with red-rimmed eyes. For a moment, neither spoke. "Get out," she finally whispered, but the command lacked her usual authority. Marcus should have left. Every instinct told him to back away and pretend he'd seen nothing. Instead, he stepped inside and closed the door behind him. "Ms. Chen." Victoria, are you okay? A bitter laugh escaped her. Do I look okay, Reynolds? She gestured vaguely at herself, then at the broken glass. Just go. Forget you saw this. That's an order. Marcus remained where he stood. I heard about your brother. I'm sorry. Victoria's face hardened. Judy talks too much. She was trying to help. I don't need help. Victoria reached for the whiskey bottle, but her hand was shaking so badly she knocked it over instead, spilling amber liquid across the expensive carpet. Damn it! She tried to right the bottle, but her movements were clumsy, uncoordinated. Without thinking, Marcus crossed the room and knelt beside her, righting the bottle and moving it out of reach. How much have you had to drink? Not enough, she muttered. Then, unexpectedly, his name was Michael. He was 27 when he died. Marcus settled onto the floor beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. What was he like? Victoria stared at the wall for so long Marcus thought she wouldn't answer. Then, softly, he was everything I'm not. Kind. Patient. Funny. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. God, he could make anyone laugh. Even me. You don't strike me as someone who laughs easily, Marcus said before he could stop himself. To his surprise, Victoria didn't snap at him. I used to. Before. She closed her eyes. He was coming to visit me. That night. I'd cancelled on him 3 times because of work. So he was driving across town at 11 p.m. because it was the only time I said I could see him. Her voice broke. He ran a red light. The police said he was probably tired. It had been a long day. Marcus felt a chill run through him. Victoria, that wasn't your fault. Wasn't it? She looked at him directly now, her gaze surprisingly clear despite the alcohol. I put work before him. Always. Just like I do with everyone. Just like I did with you tonight. The admission hung in the air between them. I have a daughter, Marcus said after a moment. Emma. She's 8. Her mother died of cancer 2 years ago. Victoria nodded slowly. I know. It's in your file. Of course it is, Marcus said with a small laugh. What you don't know is that every time I'm late picking her up, every time I miss bedtime because of work, I see the same look in her eyes that I saw when we told her mom wasn't coming home from the hospital. Just for a second. Fear. Abandonment. Victoria's eyes filled with fresh tears. And I made you stay late. Again. You didn't know. I didn't want to know, she corrected him. It's easier that way. They sat in silence for several minutes, the only sound the distant hum of the building's HVAC system. I should clean this up, Victoria finally said, looking at the broken glass. I'll help, Marcus offered, standing and extending his hand to her. She hesitated before taking it, allowing him to pull her to her feet. She swayed slightly, and he steadied her with a hand on her elbow. You shouldn't drive home, he said. I'll call a car. Let me drive you. My car's in the garage. Victoria looked like she wanted to refuse, but exhaustion seemed to win out. Fine. As they cleaned up the broken glass together, Marcus noticed a photo that had fallen from Victoria's desk in the chaos. He picked it up, seeing a much younger Victoria with her arm around a young man with the same dark eyes but a much wider smile. Michael? He asked, holding out the photo. Victoria took it gently, running her thumb over her brother's face. Yes. The only photo I keep here. She set it carefully back on her desk. He would have liked you, I think. Why's that? Because you stayed. When I told you to go, you stayed. The drive to Victoria's apartment was mostly silent. She gave directions in a subdued voice, and Marcus focused on the road, occasionally glancing at her as she stared out the window at the city lights. When they arrived at her building, a sleek high-rise in the expensive part of town, Marcus pulled up to the entrance. "Thank you," Victoria said, her hand on the door handle. Then, unexpectedly, "I'm sorry about tonight. About all the nights. It's okay." "It's not." She turned to face him fully. "I've been unfair to you. To everyone, really, but especially to you. I see the way you try to balance work and your daughter. It reminds me of..." She trailed off. "Of what you wish your brother had done?" Marcus suggested gently. Victoria nodded. "He was always telling me to work less. To live more." She laughed softly, but it held no humor. "I thought I had time to change. To be better." "You still do," Marcus said. Victoria studied him for a long moment. "Do you have a photo? Of Emma?" The question surprised him, but Marcus pulled out his phone and found a recent picture of Emma at the park, her gap-toothed smile wide as she hung upside down from the monkey bars. Victoria looked at it for several seconds. "She has your eyes," she finally said. "And she looks happy." "She is, mostly. Kids are resilient. More than adults, sometimes." Victoria handed back the phone. "Reynolds, Marcus, I'm going to make some changes. Starting tomorrow." "What kind of changes?" "For one, you're not coming in until 9:30 a.m. That should give you time to make those pancakes you promised your daughter." Marcus stared at her. "How did you?" "I saw your text when you were showing me her photo." Victoria opened her door. "And we're going to revisit the late meeting policy. For everyone with family obligations." Before Marcus could respond, she was out of the car, straightening her wrinkled blazer with as much dignity as she could muster. "Good night, Marcus," she said, leaning down to look at him through the open door. "And thank you for staying." As he watched her walk into her building, Marcus had the distinct feeling that something fundamental had shifted between them. He just didn't know yet what it meant. True to her word, Victoria Chen began to change. The transformation wasn't immediate or complete, she was still demanding, still expected excellence, but there was a new dimension to her leadership that rippled throughout the office. Flexible hours were implemented for parents. Late meetings became rare exceptions rather than the rule. And most surprisingly, Victoria began to show interest in her employees as people, not just productivity machines. For Marcus, the change was even more profound. 2 weeks after that night, Victoria called him into her office. "I need a new senior account manager," she said without preamble. "Johnson was impressed with your work on their campaign. The position comes with a significant raise and more responsibility." Marcus sat stunned. Thank you. That's incredible. It also comes with more predictable hours," Victoria continued. "You'd be managing your own team, setting your own schedule within reason." "Why me?" Marcus couldn't help asking. Victoria's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Because you're good at what you do. And because you understand what matters." The promotion changed everything for Marcus and Emma. The raise meant they could move to a better apartment closer to her school. The flexible hours meant he rarely missed bedtime anymore. And the confidence Victoria showed in his abilities pushed him to excel in ways he hadn't thought possible. But perhaps the most unexpected change came 6 months later, when Victoria Chen showed up at Emma's school play. Marcus spotted her in the back row as he was saving seats near the front. He made his way to her, confusion evident on his face. "Victoria? What are you doing here?" She looked almost embarrassed. "You mentioned it in the staff meeting. That Emma got the lead role. I thought I'd come see for myself." She straightened her shoulders. "Unless that's inappropriate?" Marcus smiled. "Not at all. Emma will be thrilled. Come sit with us." And so Victoria Chen, the once feared ice queen of pinnacle marketing, sat beside Marcus Reynolds and Mrs. Patel, watching an 8-year-old girl play Cinderella with more enthusiasm than talent. And when Emma spotted her father's boss in the audience, she gave a special little wave that made Victoria's eyes suspiciously bright. After the show, as Emma chattered excitedly about her performance, Victoria knelt down to her level. "You were wonderful," she said with genuine warmth. "Your father is very proud of you." "As he should be." Emma beamed. "Are you Dad's friend now?" "He used to say you were scary, but he doesn't say that anymore." "Emma." Marcus groaned, but Victoria laughed, a real laugh that transformed her face. "I hope I'm your dad's friend," she said, glancing up at Marcus with an expression he couldn't quite read. "I'm trying to be." Later, as they walked Victoria to her car, Emma skipping ahead, Marcus found the courage to ask the question that had been on his mind for months. "That night, in your office, did you know it would change everything?" Victoria watched Emma twirling under a streetlight. "I didn't know anything that night except that I was broken. And that you saw me broken and didn't look away." She turned to him. "Sometimes that's all we need. Someone who sees us at our worst and stays anyway. Is that what Michael did for you?" "Yes," she said softly. "And what I failed to do for him." Marcus hesitated, then gently touched her arm. "You're doing it now, though. For others. For yourself." Victoria's smile was small but genuine. Better late than never, right? As they reached her car, Emma ran back to them. "Miss Victoria, do you want to come for pancakes on Saturday? Dad makes the best pancakes ever." Victoria looked at Marcus, a question in her eyes. "We'd love to have you," he said, surprised to realize how much he meant it. "Then I accept," Victoria replied, her voice warm in a way that would have been unimaginable 6 months earlier. As Marcus watched her drive away, Emma's small hand in his, he marveled at how a single moment, walking through that office door instead of away from it, had changed the course of so many lives. Including, perhaps especially, his own. Sometimes the people we think we know are carrying burdens we can't imagine. Sometimes the walls people build aren't to keep others out, but to keep their own pain contained. And sometimes, witnessing someone's most vulnerable moment isn't an intrusion, it's an invitation to see the human being behind the facade. For Marcus Reynolds, that night in Victoria Chen's office wasn't just about seeing his boss differently. It was about recognizing that everyone, no matter how powerful or composed they seem, has moments of brokenness. And in that recognition, finding the courage to be more honest about his own struggles. For Victoria Chen, it was the beginning of a journey back to the person her brother had always believed she could be. Not perfect, not invulnerable, but authentic. Present. Alive. And for Emma, it meant gaining not just more time with her father, but eventually, another adult who cared deeply about her well-being. Someone who understood loss in a way few others could. 3 lives, forever changed because one man chose to walk toward someone's pain rather than away from it. Because one woman found the courage to be seen at her lowest moment. Because sometimes, the most powerful connections begin when we're at our most vulnerable. If you found meaning in this story, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Remember that behind every cold exterior might be a heart that's hurting, and behind every perfect facade might be a person longing to be truly seen. Sometimes, all it takes is the courage to stay when it would be easier to walk away.